What's up, guys? The video you're about to watch right now has been 1 year in the making. You're gonna see my journey starting in commercial real estate all the way up until now, where just this past week I passed my 90 days actually working as a commercial real estate agent. So we're gonna watch some of my old videos documenting the process along the way, kind of react to them, and then I'll just share some closing concise tips that wrap up the past year. So let's jump into these. The first video was taken in July of 2025. Today is July 14th, 2026. So it's been a whirlwind of a year, and we're gonna jump into watching some of these old videos here. It is July 11th, 2025, and this is my inaugural video for the journey to become a commercial real estate broker. I'm sitting here at my desk with some plans starting to take shape, things I'm writing out. Got a suggested timeline up here. So basically, got my book for selling buildings back here. The plan as of right now is to finish reading Selling Buildings by Bob Knakal. That's kind of just getting my feet wet with some ideas on how he built Massey Knakal, how he shaped his career, decisions he made, and things like that. Once I finish that, I'm going to start the online courses is the goal. And then at some point in that process, while I'm doing that, which you can take online, which is very nice because we're planning to move to Tennessee, I will at some point in those courses start the application process to work in Tennessee, which is the goal. So a lot of things in the works. This is my day one of the journey, so hopefully I can record it. I can kind of track the progress, share things that I learn, kind of my take on the whole experience, and I'm excited. We'll see what happens. It's still kind of crazy to think that this is like day 370 or something like that, but it's been quite a wild journey, as you'll see through some of these clips. Man, a year ago now, just starting on the journey, just the things that I know now that I did not know then in that video is pretty wild to think about. So we'll go on to the next video. That was just me kind of getting started in the process. Here is a little while later. It is getting pretty real. I just finished last weekend reading through Selling Buildings by Bob Knakal, and I just signed up for Calibri's online real estate course. Gotta show you this right here. There's my dashboard. So I'm gonna start plugging away at these courses. 90 hours of online courses. Here I come. You see my Kirkland sparkling water in all these videos. That's what helped me get through all this. But yeah, so here was starting the real estate courses. That was quite a process. You want to start those as early as possible for sure. Calibri though was a really good program. People have asked me. They definitely prepared me for the exam, for the real estate exam. They do really good with quizzes, tests, practice tests, a lot of study materials that I didn't even utilize all of them. So I would recommend going through Calibri online, especially like in my case where I was in Minnesota and taking the test for Tennessee. I wasn't going to show up in person to take the test, so I would recommend it. All right, video number 3. All right, guys, this is big stuff. Today, I am sending my first email to the recruiter at the commercial real estate firm that I want to work at. So this is my first direct contact with her, unless you count my sending a LinkedIn connection invite that she did not respond to, which is sad. But she did respond a little while later, by the way. So this is my first time reaching out to her. I'm gonna send an email. So kind of the backstory here. About 2 months ago, actually over 2 months ago, I reached out for the first time to the company, and one of the ladies that works there, super nice lady, responded with a lot of helpful information. She gave me some good resources, some good background, and she sent me the email to this recruiter. So here we are, 2 months later. I took the time to do some research, some reading, start the licensing process, and I've gotten to make some super good phone calls to some of the people that work actually at the firm, and those have been some stellar conversations. So super good tip if anyone, is thinking about getting into commercial real estate. Call the people at the firm, talk to them, talk to the owner if you can, talk to some of the team members that he recommends. I've really loved having those conversations. It's been awesome. So here it goes. Gonna take my email that I've drafted here, and I am going to hit send. Hopefully my links work in here. I put a couple links to my information. Got the subject line. How long does it take to hit send, right? Proofread this thing so many times, and it took me a lot of trials to type it up. So here it goes. Boom. Sent. No messages in my drafts. So there it goes, folks. First time reaching out to the recruiter, and wish me luck. Yeah, I did not realize that I would be doing that a good bit more often, but I'm honestly glad that the first firm that I reached out to did not hire me, didn't just send a job offer, because it forced me to reach out to so many more people that I would not have met otherwise. So I am thankful for the journey, that I had to reach out to several people. It forced me to make some really good connections, and it was absolutely the best thing for me. So that was the first outreach right there. Just hopping on here to make a quick video. It is official. My interview is scheduled for this Monday. Today is Wednesday, September 3rd, and the interview is scheduled for Monday, September 8th. So right after the weekend, 8 o'clock in the morning, my time, 9 o'clock in the morning, Tennessee time. And let's go get it. So you'll notice that this is September, when the journey started in July of taking the first steps. So it is a longer process than you might think. And especially if you're going to be going around interviewing at different firms, you just want to get started on that early. You want to save as much money as you can. You want to really get ahead on those courses, which is what I was doing at this point, was taking the real estate course. And keep in mind, I was taking these courses while I was working a full-time job, 40 hours a week. It was kind of grueling. The afternoons, I would sit out in my car or go to the cafe in this grocery store to study for my course. Then I would take off after work, go to the library down the road, the public college library, and study for an hour or so, then go home, eat supper, go to bed, and the next day do the same thing. So it is a lot of work, but it is doable. You can definitely get those courses done, get the study done, and then when it came around to January, so I was studying in the freezing cold up in Minnesota, but when it came time for January, I was prepared to take that test, got that out of the way, which really opened up doors and conversations as I was talking to people about moving down to Knoxville. Because if you can have that when you start talking to people and start seriously looking at firms and applying, that's going to put you ahead of some of the rest of the folks out there. It's going to be a long process because this is September, and obviously I didn't start here until April. But on to the next video. Just finished up the interview. I think it went pretty well. It's quite a process, quite a long interview process, because we had the initial interview with her after the phone call with Nicole. And now she said the next step is basically to have an in-person interview and then a second in-person interview. So we will stay tuned, but really cool to talk to her. Kind of explain a little bit more about myself. Hopefully I'm not repeating myself too much at this point after 2 videos and a phone call and an interview. But it's always cool to talk about commercial real estate, and she explained a little bit more about the program, what that's going to look like. So I'm ready. Let's go. Don't feel bad if you continue to introduce yourself to people, because really you need to have the attitude of every day is a new day. You are a different person than you were 1 week ago.
So that team that think they're ready to see you, they think what they seen on film, they ain't saw what film shows. Because every day is a new day. Every moment is a new moment. So now you got to go out and show them that I'm a different creature now than I was 5 minutes ago.
And so someone who saw that introduction or looked at your resume, they're in front of a whole new person now. You're just going to continue to grow and be a different person. So lean into that attitude. All right, another video here. As the months are going by, guys, getting to this point now, 1 year later, Hope you're enjoying some of these documented snapshots into my life over the last year. It's been a second since I gave an update, so in the meantime, I have been busy studying in my 2 courses. I actually took a week off to get my 30-hour course in, which I did get done in a week. My 60-hour course took over 100 hours to actually get it all in. And right now I am deep in study mode, going through my notes, my study guide up here, taking practice quizzes, simulated pre-exams. Got a couple days before my actual exam. Good bit of study left to go through. So in a couple days, I will take the final Tennessee license exam, and we will see how that goes. So again, shout out to Calibri for having some really good study resources. They were really helpful. I didn't even scratch the surface on all the tools and tests and simulated tests that they had and things, so that was really helpful. Money well spent. So really the next video, the last one we're going to watch, is the pack up process and really the last final things before I moved here and started in the job that I have now in this role. So check out this last video. Man, it has been a whirlwind the past few months. The last video I made was January 5th, and we are here halfway through March. So if I can remember most of the main details, after passing the 2 tests for the Tennessee real estate license, I think the next thing I did was call a broker that was kind enough to take a phone call from me. He is an industrial broker out in California. He's somewhat famous on LinkedIn. Super nice guy to talk to, but he kind of roasted me. Said I was basically asking some beginner questions, which is true, coming from a guy who's just starting out from scratch in commercial real estate. So I had all these questions in my mind about, just everything from CRM to like what kind of bank account do you need to be able to deposit checks, and just everything in between, some personal questions, some work-related questions. So I was asking him some of those things, and he kindly told me, that it's okay to ask him some beginner questions, but I need to think about this differently. I need to start asking questions as if you're already a broker, basically. So after that conversation, I had kind of a mindset shift, kind of made me think about how I was approaching talking to people in the business differently. So I started trying to teach myself, which was honestly one of the biggest lessons I've learned so far going into this, is how much you can and really need to learn on your own and teach yourself and go out there, find the tools, figure out, first of all, what is it that you don't know? And then how can you learn it and then teach yourself? There's a bunch of AI tools out there, just searching things, just researching, just doing the homework, doing the legwork and reading. You can learn a ton. And so I started doing that back in January. I also started making a few more calls to brokers just across the nation. I think the next thing that happened after that was starting to get ready for turning in our notice at work. So that was a big step. Once we turned in our 2-week notice, the time really started flying getting ready to move. As you can see, we got boxes everywhere back here. We're in the middle of packing and everything. So the past several weeks have just gone really quickly. We started applying for jobs. My initial strategy was to just get a side job, either at like a warehouse or like FedEx, Lowe's, something like that, local, even driving, delivery or something, part-time, so that I could hit the ground in Knoxville and start from scratch, start calling owners, tenants, meeting business owners, going around driving the corridors in Knoxville. I was fully prepared to spend my first 45 days just from the ground up, learning about Knoxville, seeing the buildings, creating a database of contacts, of properties, of owners, of lease expiration dates, and things like that. I started applying for these part-time jobs so that I could hopefully get into Knoxville, kind of network my way into the business once I got there. Once I started applying for jobs, I actually didn't hear back. There was like 3 interviews that were supposed to be phone interviews that was just a no-show. So I started to think maybe I'm kind of aiming a little too low, putting the bar a little lower than I should. So then I was like, well, maybe I'll try to get into something that's a little more related to commercial real estate, whether that be working for the county, working for the city, Chamber of Commerce, maybe some kind of real estate office coordinator or assistant or something, secretary for a real estate company, even residential real estate. I ended up sending my resume, a couple of reference letters and things to about 6 different real estate and commercial real estate firms, hoping for just like a part-time role so I could just hit the ground running, go after commercial real estate myself, kind of on my own, which I was fully prepared to do, which is good. And by the time I heard back from 2 or 3 of those, I had a phone call with an owner of one of those firms, and it went really well. Really, we just hit it off. We connected really well. And so thinking about that, they basically offered me to start a path on a trajectory to start with them as a broker. It's funny because during the conversation, I was still fighting for like, maybe I could do this just part-time, and then I can down the road see who I want to actually hang my license with and go into commercial real estate with. Partially thinking for myself that I've been of the mindset this whole time, I'm just going to have to do this on my own. Obviously, once I get into a firm, I'm going to have to be taught by someone else. But then also thinking from their perspective, they don't know me, they haven't met me, we haven't done an interview, I can't go down there face to face. So who in their right mind would start working with me sight unseen, you know? Well, a couple conversations later, I talked to the other owner. We corresponded over email over my last week of work, and it ended up that I wanted to basically go ahead and commit to being a broker for them. They wanted to go ahead and take me on in the interim period as an intern, and with the expectation that I will hang my brokerage license with them, start with them as a broker. Done. And really, this is the perfect setup, far better than I could have hoped for. And so I got my acceptance letter. The other big thing is I just signed up for and took my first class for CI 101, the requirement for CCIM designation. It's going to be a great class. I'm actually need to go over there and study for it right now, but just getting into that before I've even started really my day one as a broker, jumping into CCIM. So it's exciting. A lot going on. One of my going away gifts from work was this mug here. Let the adventure begin. And that's really starting to set in. Can't wait to be on site on Rocky Top, starting in commercial real estate. So we'll see you in the next video. You'll have to forgive the background. It's a little messy. And hopefully I've matured a little bit in my understanding of commercial real estate. Maybe I haven't, I don't know. But hopefully we're progressing from that video. But it's just wild to think, man, so many things happened up until that point. You know, my original plan of, I don't know, working for Uber while I moved to Knoxville and started in commercial real estate, it worked out so much better than that. Being able to hit the ground running, starting with a firm, and commercial real estate has been harder than I thought, you know, going back to my first video, but I've had so much more support, so much more help and investment in training than I would have anticipated. So it's been, you know, far surpassed my expectation in that regard. But it's been a journey. So I guess to pick up, like, I started at the firm, was an intern, was able to finish my license. I have that hung with the firm. Now I'm an advisor, just hit my 90 days. I put up another post recently of some of the top things I've taken away in the first 90 days working in commercial real estate, and it is just so wild. So I've been extremely fortunate, extremely blessed. And if there's anyone out there who finds yourself in a similar situation, like maybe you're just getting started, maybe this is a similar trajectory to what you want to ramp up to, or if you're in your first couple years of commercial real estate and you have any advice to share with me, you know, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me. And I'm excited to see what the next year is going to look like. So we're planning to get out there, get some buildings sold, and get some leases signed. So back to the work.